Have you been looking for a way to boost your confidence and drive positive change in today's world? Join us for episode 26 of Give a Fuck, presented by Spark Consciousness, as we dive deep into the transformative journey of empowerment and connection. As you listen, think about how sisterhood can empower you. As always, I am your host, Sarah Woodard. I am a nature-centric badass dedicated to helping soul-searching sensitive women feel safe and empowered to change their worlds through connection with nature, and the creator of Spark Consciousness. The purpose of this show is to help raise your awareness, connect with nature, and discover your purpose. My goal is to present valuable information about how you can define your values, uncover your purpose, and make a difference, and how nature helps you do all of this. Sometimes I also share other resources, as I love to help you continue learning. I've also started an occasional series of bonus episodes called Changemakers, which highlights the way everyday women, just like you, have been a force for positive change. And these are just randomly interspersed between the usual bi-weekly episodes. As a quick reminder, the spelling of give a fuck is F*K. And as always, a humongous thank you to my existing patrons on Patreon. I have a really interesting life update for all of you wonderful listeners this week, and it amazingly connects into, or maybe not amazingly, there's no such thing as coincidences, but it does connect into what we're going to talk about today about community and empowerment and change. So it was a Friday, this past Friday as of this recording date, and I was in my apartment, minding my own business, knitting, watching TV, hanging with the kitties, and I hear a knock on the door. And I get up and I open the door, and there's a police officer there. He says, "We need all residents to evacuate." And this was after, I should probably back up and set the scene a little, actually. Sorry, for a storyteller, that wasn't a great scene setting, but at any rate, so this was after I could see from my window, from my balcony, cop cars like wrapped around the building, 2 ladder trucks, 2 ambulances. It was clear something was going on. This is not, unfortunately, an infrequent occurrence. So as much as it was like, what's going on? It stopped there until this cop showed up and said, you need to evacuate. Now, bear in mind, I was in my pajamas because it was a Friday and I work from home and, so I had to, and unfortunately, this particular pair of pajama bottoms, the elastic was stretched. So I had to change my pants, put on actual adult clothes, gather up the cats, and I want you to ask yourself, if this happened to you, what would you grab? Here's what I grabbed. I grabbed the cats. I grabbed the stuffed animal I have slept with since I was 2 years old. I grabbed my phone, my laptop, and my purse, which always has my keys attached to it. That was it. If the world ended, at least I would have the most vital things. And we made our way out, and there was a whole lot of drama getting out and whatever else. But long story short, this whole situation led to a 7-hour standoff. And it's crazy what happened. There was a resident on a different floor I live in building 8, but building 7 and 8 are connected like an L. And this particular resident lived on the 3rd floor of building 7. So she wasn't really anywhere near me. This poor woman, she was being evicted, and the eviction notice had been on her door for a while, and she didn't leave. Most likely, I would assume, because she didn't know where to go, because nobody had ever provided her with that support, which is really sad. And so when the cops showed up that morning to say, okay, lady, you gotta go, she freaked out, rather understandably. The choice she made wasn't great, but in her mindset, I think we can all understand why maybe she lashed out. And unfortunately, in lashing out, she injured a police officer. He needed stitches on his arm. That was it. There was no guns. There was no, she didn't stab him in the heart. This wasn't a big dramatic thing. At that point, in my opinion, they should have brought in a crisis counselor to talk her down, to help her feel safe, blah, blah, blah. But instead, they responded the only way the police have been trained to respond, which is with force. And oh boy, did they use force. After that, SWAT showed up, the bomb squad showed up, snipers showed up, drones were deployed, And of course, because this is all very big and dramatic and exciting, the news media showed up. After 7 hours of nothing happening, they finally deployed tear gas and brought her to the hospital with self-inflicted injuries. It's all really sad because if at any point during this eviction process she had been offered community resources, she might have been able to leave on her own. If at any point during this 7 hours of insanity, she had been given access to mental health services, she probably would have come out under her own steam and not in self-inflicted injuries. If at any point prior to the eviction, she had received mental health support or just felt like she had a community of people, friends, family, whatever, around her, supporting her, she might never have even arrived at eviction. It was so sad from so many levels. We finally did get back in, and I was very, very pleased with how the community of residents, not so much our management staff, but the community of residents really did pull together. And that was really beautiful to see. And it was another example of the power of community. We all held each other together, those of us who were evacuated. We had no idea what was going to happen, if we were going to get to go back to our apartments that night. We were getting a little bit irritated because it seemed like nothing was happening. But we all managed to find humor, to make each other laugh, to allow space to vent when we needed to. It was really kind of beautiful to see that community connection. So that was interesting. And in the midst of all this, I am still trying to plan this cross-country move. That's in process, and hopefully soon I will have an actual date that I can move out, especially after this thing on Friday that happened. And I have to tell you very honestly, I am the person that I am a rock for everyone else during the crisis. But after the crisis, I fall apart. And so since then, I've been really struggling with fear of leaving my apartment, because what if something happens and I'm not here to get the cats to safety? And that's always been a low-level anxiety for me. And now it's pretty intense. And so I'm trying to work through that also in the midst of all of the moving and it's been a lot. But I'm here to do this podcast for you. And we are going to talk about all of this great stuff with empowerment and community, and it's going to be an awesome episode. So normally at this point, I would answer questions submitted from Patreon. This week, given that I had this very long and somewhat traumatic life update for all of you, I think I'm going to skip it. I do encourage everyone to check out my Patreon page and to submit questions. There are some really cool bennies, and it's not very expensive to support the show. In the meantime, let's hop on over to the Satan of the show. This. Are you tired of feeling stuck, unsure, or hesitant when it comes to creating positive change in your life? Imagine a world where your confidence soars, your actions align with your aspirations, and your impact on the world knows no bounds. A membership could be the key to unlocking your potential and helping you become a true catalyst for positive change. In this episode, we're going to talk about the power of a Sisterhood membership and helping you feel confident using your unique gifts and talents and perspective to create positive change. Does this sound familiar at all to you? You are super tired of feeling powerless to change all the BS that's happening in the world. But you also don't feel confident or clear on how you can change a damn thing, right? I felt pretty powerless during that situation on Friday. However, since then, it has sort of shifted for me some things in how I want to help you and help other people. And I may need some additional training or whatever. I'm not exactly sure where that's going, but I know that it has shifted some things for me. Not big dramatic ways, just small little shifts, like wanting to know more about being trauma informed and things like that. But because right in this moment, you feel powerless and you don't feel confident or clear, you do nothing. And of course, that changes nothing. We've all been there. What you need is a place, a group that will help you to feel confident in creating change. Big, small, global impacts or personal ones, they all matter and they all add up. I say that all the time, right? But where the heck do you find this group? Now, perhaps you've looked at online memberships like the Soulful Sisterhood, which is my group, before, and you've been left wondering, how will my monthly fee help me feel more confident in creating positive change? Well, I'm really glad you asked. And I, of course, cannot speak to all memberships because they're all a little bit different. But I can tell you how the Soulful Sisterhood will help you feel more confident in creating positive change. First, one of the ways the Soulful Sisterhood is different from a lot of groups you'll find out there is that we get really real. So many spiritual growth groups are focused on high vibes only. Well, at Spark Consciousness, we know that philosophy is bullshit. Life is messy, dirty, ugly, painful, scary. Like that whole situation on Friday. The Soulful Sisterhood was created for exactly that reason, because we cannot be high vibe only all the damned time. It's impossible. It's not a reasonable expectation. And second, because of all of my training in my various healing modalities, shamanism, Reiki, I know that the true way to help others heal is by holding space. Any healer who tells you they're doing something more than that is either ego-driven or trying to convince you they've got some magical talents they don't have. True healing is about you doing the work in a safe place. Yes, there might be guided questions or exercises or things of that nature, but that really is still just holding space. So in knowing that, I designed the Soulful Sisterhood to be collaborative. Yes, I am technically the leader in the sense that I'll be holding space, stepping in when necessary, offering perspective from my wisdom and intuition, maybe leading activities, that sort of thing. However, unlike many group leaders out there, I know that my wisdom and intuition are not the be-all and end-all. As a sisterhood member, you will be encouraged to co-create with me what each monthly meeting looks like. Share your own insights and wisdom with the group. And of course, we'll also hold space for you to share whatever you need to bring to the group for support. And last, but certainly not least, as a member of the Soulful Sisterhood, you'll connect with other like-minded women. And that is always women with an X, as a reminder. Connections, of course, are always valuable, but the connections you make in the sisterhood are platinum. They may become your new BFF. They may team up with you to tackle an important issue facing society. They may share a perspective that completely shifts your thinking. The possibilities for how the connections you'll make in the sisterhood change you and help you create change are endless. Now, you may be thinking, that all sounds pretty great, but what if I don't actually like any of the other sisterhood members? I totally get that. As an INFJ, I always worry about not liking people and them not liking me. But actually, that's part of what makes the Soulful Sisterhood so special. Although we're all different and come from all walks of life, we all have one very important thing in common. We're upset by the state of the world, and we are not afraid to face it head on. We just need some support to do it. So yes, you may disagree on specific issues or stances, but the sisterhood is not about politics or trying to sway others to your way of thinking. It's about respect, holding space, taking action, and feeling supported. If things start to go down the road of an unhealthy debate, it's my job to step in and stop it. The sisterhood is not a place for that stuff. Discussing topics in a respectful way is fine. Personal attacks never are. Because of this emphasis on creating a safe space, you'll find connections. People will like you, and you will like them. Because it's about you and them at a soul level. All that surface noise that makes it hard for you and me to find people we like in most groups is left outside the sisterhood, quote-unquote, doors. It is a virtual meeting, so there's no actual door. At a soul level, it's easy to find compassion and get along. So if you are ready to connect with an amazing group of women who help support you in creating positive change, it's time to join the Soulful Sisterhood today for $12 a month. Our doors and arms are always open wide to welcome new sisters. As always, you can find me on social media and online. Of course, those links are in the show notes. I will for sure put a link to the Soulful Sisterhood in the show notes as well. And you can also find it at sparkconsciousness.net/community. And if you're out running errands or dealing with some stressful situation or whatever, and you can't hop on that right now, just remember the word mountain, and you'll remember to come back and bop over to Give a Fuck presented by Spark Consciousness and grab the link. So normally I would tell you what the next episode is going to be about, but unfortunately, because of moving and this whole situation on Friday, I don't actually have that planned out yet. But I promise I will see you in 2 weeks with another really great topic. I hope to see you then. In the meantime, continue to expand your knowledge, feel the connections, and live with compassion.